Thank you for choosing. 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 Thank you for choosing.
System Shock 2 is kind of a big deal. Released in the summer of 1999 to critical acclaim, it went on to not only inspire other games but also entire franchises with its mix of first-person horror and immersive sim-esque gameplay. So beloved is System Shock 2 that, depending when this video goes live, an enhanced edition is being released, bringing the classic to consoles for the first time ever as well as PC, boasting better graphics, textures, etc. This will allow a whole new generation of gamers to experience this absolute gem of a game for the first time, as well as returning players the chance to roam the spooky halls of the Von Braun once more. So, to celebrate all this System Shock 2 fanfare, I decided to answer a question which only about 5 people on the internet have ever asked. Can you beat System Shock 2 with only the wrench?
The rule is simple.
I can only kill enemies with the wrench. Enemy-on-enemy deaths are permitted, like hacked turrets, and side buffs are allowed to enhance my wrench-wielding effectiveness. I pick the easy difficulty predominantly for 2 reasons. The first being that System Shock 2 is a hard game and there are still plenty of deaths even at this level. And the second, and probably most important, my quest is to discover if it is technically possible to beat the game using only the wrench as my weapon, not to see how difficult I can make it for myself whilst trying to do that. The opening of System Shock 2 is probably one of the more unique character creation screens in any game that I've played. You essentially pick a class and then pick 3 tours of duty as part of that chosen class, which will determine your starting stats and skills. All of this isn't done as a static screen like we've seen in my Fallout and Deus Ex videos, however. This game sees you actually steering your character through the various recruitment centres as you make your choices. Now, as I am going for a wrench-only build, I first want to focus predominantly on 2 things: strength to hit hard and endurance for higher hit points. So, to that end, I enlist with the Navy.
In the Navy, yes, you can sail the 7 seas. In the Navy, yes, you can put your mind at ease. In the Navy.
Year 1 I pick Ships Ops, that gives me a +1 to strength and +1 to hack, as hacking is also going to be a very useful skill in this run. Year 2 I pick Tactical Training, that gives me a +2 to my standard weapon skills, which the wrench falls into the category of, and buffs its damage output. And finally, Year 3 I choose Survival Training for a +2 to my endurance. My character now complete, it's time to awaken from cryosleep and see what the Von Braun and Shodan has in store for me. The game kicks off by attacking me with a satellite dish, but I survive and get my hands on the eponymous wrench. God, it's so beautiful! I clear the debris, solid snake my way through a vent, see another beautiful wrench, and Polito uploads me some cybernetic modules, which are essentially the game's currency for increasing your stats and skills. You get them by completing objectives as well as finding them as an item throughout the game, which, as a pre-warning, I did my very best to do, as better stats and skills equals more likely to succeed. I increase my agility and cybernetic affinity, spend way too long hacking my first door, see a ghost, and finally face off against my first enemy. Okay, 2 hits, not bad. This challenge will be a doddle. I discover the joys of destroying security cameras at close range, get blasted by a monkey, and see the consequences of lending someone a hand. The game tempts me with a shotgun, no thanks, and I get jump scared by another ghost. An embarrassing amount of time later, I finally find the route to progress, recharging an energy cell, and manage to avoid the ambush by 2 turrets as I'd currently disabled the security. I make my way deeper into the med deck, but ironically set off the security alarm by trying to perform a stealth attack. One ghost encounter and getting up close and personal with a security camera later, I finally grab the access card I need to progress further into the Von Braun. It's worth mentioning now that all the while I am looting the ship and downed enemies like the rabid kleptomaniac I am, as many of these items I can convert into nanites, the game's money, later on. In fact, my first death is from radiation poisoning whilst I was doing just that. I find some armour that gives me an extra 20 defence.
Nice.
get my own back on a turret that tried to turn me into Swiss cheese, and make my way to the crew sector. I say no to a cheeky grenade launcher, spend some of my accumulated cyber modules on buffing my agility and cyber affinity to 3, and take my first of 4 in-game perks, aka OS upgrades, lethal weapon. This buffs melee damage by 35%, so you can kinda see why it's a good fit for this run. I try and fail to destroy this camera, wash my hands and grab the R&D access card. I survive an enemy gauntlet after setting off an alarm again, but rendezvous with Watts in the last few seconds of his life. Luckily, he recorded the code I need to progress before his untimely demise, so after fighting past 2 shotgun enemies, I get on a moving. I am greeted by a security bot who, from this footage here, you will see poses somewhat of a greater challenge. But in the end, nothing can stand in the way of my trusty yellow wrench. I spend the extra cyber mods on the research skill before progressing, as researching the bits of enemies can give me useful buffs against them, seen here with a 25% damage increase against hybrids. I did the same for the monkey brain, but through the magic of editing will speed up this process just for you.
Do not waste time patting yourself on the back. Get down to that shaft engineering and reset the primary reactor core. That will restore power to the elevator and you'll be able to...
After cutting Polito off mid-spiel, I'm next tasked with purging the radiation, and along the way spot beautiful wrench number 2. I encounter another enemy type, the kamikaze robot, and yes, they will get increasingly more annoying as the run goes on, especially as I have mixed results in avoiding damage. It's not long before we run into another sexy wrench. I preemptively destroy a turret and then get attacked by what I can only assume was its grieving metal girlfriend. In the next room I have no choice but to accept taking splash damage from killing turrets, so cheer myself up by increasing my standard weapon skill, or more to the point, my wrench skill. Before long I am suddenly transported to a cutscene where the many, represented here as the inside of a person's anus, gives me a warning about working against them, as well as giving me an early glimpse of a later level that I'm sure I won't have any problems with at all. I make my way into the warehouse, see a disconcerting number of kamikaze robots in their little boxes, and proceed to find the access card. No, wait! I finish looting the warehouse and somehow manage to cheese the big boy robot who, at low health, tries to escape me by moonwalking.
People always told me, be careful what you do.
I clear up a misunderstanding with a friendly kamikaze robot, get ambushed at low health, and die. Second go of it, however, and I die again. Third time's the charm, however, and no, never mind. After healing up again at the nearby auto dock, I make my way to my next objective and get another objective to backtrack to the nearby chemical storage, which, after grabbing the circuit board I need, has the added bonus of allowing me to finish another piece of research. I managed to survive being blown up in here this time round, install the circuit board and increase my strength and endurance. After succeeding in flushing the radiation, I could finally make my way to the engine room, bust some moves with the monkey in this disco tube, and restart the engine core. The elevator is finally in use, however access to deck 4 is blocked, so I get off on deck 3, hydroponics, to see what I can do about it. I do experience numerous deaths here at the hands of these 2 turrets in particular, with notable contributions from the cyborg midwives. Eventually I take my second OS upgrade, Pharmo Friendly, which gives me an extra 20% from hypos used, such as the health ones you saw me buying in bulk at the start of this video. My next objective is to create something called Toxin A, which can clear the biomaterial growth in the elevator shaft. I die again, trying to get my own back on these goddamn turrets, and after another death, give up and head back to the lower decks to get the chemicals needed to complete the toxin research. I now need to find 3 more vials of Toxin A and insert them into 4 separate environmental regulators. I spot voluptuous wrench number 4 and manage to insert my first vial of Toxin A into the quest receptacle. The second toxin is inserted soon after, but now I need to find the last 2 vials before I can progress. I deny myself a lightsaber, beat up a monkey, and find the 3rd vial. I do a lot of backtracking to auto-docks to save my medical hypos for later on, as well as reset the security override for a more palatable journey. I eventually stumble across the final vial, increase my endurance and cybernetic affinity, and oh look, another long,
hard wrench.
I find some sneakily hidden cyber mods, this is why you have to check every nook and cranny in this game, and take out another moonwalking big boy.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
I avoid a farting egg whilst I loot everything not nailed down, nail this cyborg midwife between the tits, and insert toxin vial number 3. I go for a quick swim, admire the view, and end up dodging these projectiles like I'm goddamn Naruto. Sector D now, and oh my god, what's happened here? At least there's another wrench to take my mind off the horror of it all. I pick up some sweet new armor, needlessly jump out of a window, and have my debut encounter with one of the worst enemies in the game. The spiders. Not only are they hard to hit with the wrench, but every blow they land on me increases my toxin level, which does damage over time and can only be cured with a certain hypo or an auto-dock.
And later on, they even turn invisible.
Anyway, vial number 4 is inserted and it's time to meet my helpful benefactor Polito on deck 4. Pretty sure there won't be any surprises there.
The Polito form is dead, insect.
Well, would you look at that? Yes, it's Mommy Showdown. Now, I won't lie, this reveal the first time I played System Shock 2 was quite the twist, and I can only imagine that before the widespread accessibility of the internet back in 1999, this scene would have left gamers reeling. Showdown briefly recaps the plot of System Shock 1 before explaining her creations, the many, have now turned against her, and we have to begrudgingly work together, man and machine.
You are now one of my elite employees.
Yeah, sure. Just keep pumping me with them cyber mods, baby. My first official objective from Mommy Showdown on this deck is to reprogram the sim units, and I'm sure that won't be a problem. Oh dear god, what is that? After surviving a blast to the face from a monkey, I increase my hacking and repair skill, give in to my crippling fruit machine addiction, and encounter some new enemy types, the cyborg assassin and his mate, Grenadier Bob. I play hide and seek with a security camera, ruin the farting eggs pool party, and get poisoned by the spiders. Twice. The cyborg assassin proves to be deadly at close range with its high speed and high DPS, and backtracking from this death sets me back somewhat. Grenadier Bob is back for round 2, sorry Bob, and I managed to defeat one of the red cyborg assassins by thwacking it in the penis. It drops a chip I need to insert into a thingy later, and Mommy Showdown rewards my efforts with cyber mods in spite of my unconventional methods. I get ambushed and poisoned by another spider, swap my current armor out for the medium variety as I am slowly dying, but decide to go out fighting a kamikaze robot rather than succumbing to the toxicity. The wrench to the penis tactic is clearly a winner against the cyborg assassins, and as such I no longer fear their ability to kill me. I end up losing a few years off my life because of this. But finally reach my first thingy to put my chip into for Mommy Showdown. She tries to reward me with probably the best melee weapon of the game, the Crystal Shard, but she clearly hasn't paid enough attention to the thumbnail. Progressing deeper into the deck on my quest for the next red cyborg assassin, I bitch slapped this monkey and felt bad about it until I realised my reward for doing so was a stash of crisps. Ah, jackpot. It must be my lucky day as I next stumble across wrench number 7, looking good in all its blood-spattered wrenchness. After a brief skirmish with Grenadier Bob and his cousin Brent, I get eyes on the next red boy, who takes one look at me and scarpers. He probably knows what I plan to do with this here wrench. I increase my standard weapon skill to 5 as well as my research and repair skill to 5 and 4 respectively. After a brief altercation with a security camera, I enter what I can only describe as a Christmas room with a defective guardrail problem. Now luckily this trap, which is very likely to ensnare me, is actually doing more damage to the red cyborg assassin, so I just sit back and wait for my chance to deal the killing blow, which pleases Mommy Showdown. The regular cyborg assassins must have heard about my tactic to beating them, as the very next one I see helps give me a bad case of the deads. Speaking of which, I find the next thingy to insert the latest chip into and, well, it doesn't go well. Eventually, however, I survive and
Oh my god, these spiders!
I decide to spend some accumulated cybermods on.
For the love of...
I decide at this point it is completely acceptable to invest in some psi abilities for buffing and healing purposes, so to that end get powers that enhance my melee damage, my strength, provide extra rad resistance and restore health, as well as increasing my psi stat to 2. The strength booster and adrenaline combo buff would be a mainstay tactic from now on, so I won't mention it each time I use them, just assume I have when you see the icons beneath the minimap. Believe me, easy difficulty or not, these buffs are essential to surviving what System Shock 2 has left in store for me, such as this. Reviving, I stumble across the last of the red cyborg assassins, and unlike his fallen brethren, this one actually puts up a fight, dropping me to low health before I beat him to death and retrieve the final chip. Mommy Showdown both compliments and insults me. I die to save travel time and watch this epic battle between a turret and a spider.
And the spider wins!
I find the last thingy and do the thing and spend my pocket money on increasing my psi stat. Just as I reach the elevator to head to Deck 5, a spider asks me to hold the door and jumps in with me.
No!
But luckily it appears to vanish from existence when the game finishes loading. Deck funf now, and my next mission in my quest to become Mommy Showdown's good little boy is to send a distress transmission which will do something for plot reasons. After my fateful encounter with the spiders on decks 3 and 4, I decide to stock up on anti-toxin hypos now I've got the chance to Costco them.
Try killing me slowly now, you eight-legged bastard.
Wait, are those party rings? I climb into a hole, get some parenting advice, and face the toughest boss in the game, the military police big boy. After Circle's strafe whacking him to death, I heal up using my Pokeball, turn on some lights, and die. I get my own back and decide to let my hair down a bit by taking my wrench clubbing. Mommy Showdown explains how and why I am an insect in spite of doing everything in my power to make her proud, so I redouble my efforts and eventually find the access card I need to progress. I take out a trio of big boys,
After being killed by them once, haha.
and get to take my third OS upgrade, Smasher. This essentially lets me execute a charged melee attack for extra damage. Gosh, it's almost like the devs intended that you could beat the game this way. I max out my standard weapon skill, which essentially means I can perform open heart surgery now with my wrench, but miss out on true wrench godhood by one single cybermod, so settle for increasing my psi stat instead. I enter what I can only describe as the red light district of the ship, purchase an access card for the only room worthwhile, but sadly only leave with cybermods and some money. No sex. I get spotted by a camera as I leave, and in my panic that my wife will find out what I've been doing, rush to cancel the alarm at the nearby security station. I spot a kamikaze robot being odd, and notice that the cinema vending machine prices are extortionate, which mirrors snack prices at cinemas to this day, which I think is a bit of really funny social commentary here. Well done, devs, for this joke still being relevant 25 years later. I max out endurance. Oof, that looked like it hurt. Take a grenade to the face and get myself the heavy armor.
Yeah, boy.
I get the next access card
I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern here.
and make my way to the athletic section, which is just as well as I'm about to fight the hardest boss in the entire game, the Chompy Boy. I go for a swim to wash off the countless jibs and robot parts stuck to my face, replace a power cell with one I found earlier, and whoa, someone's been on the spicy food. I finally make it to the transmitter, enter the necessary code I totally deduced in the game's intended way, and get told to make haste to Deck 6. Unsurprisingly, my next objective is to find another access card. And oh, more spiders. Yay! I max out strength because God knows I'm going to need it dealing with more fecking spiders. Take the tram to my first stop, a station known as Get Zapped in the Face City, before moving on to the final stop, Spiderton.
Hello there.
I finally get the recycler, which will allow me to convert all the hoarded ammo I've been carrying into nanites, and make my way to the chemical storage room to complete the Chompy Boy research. And yes, I know there's a wrench in there too. After getting the code I need to enter the security office, I entered the security office and grabbed the access card. I show off the benefits of my high stats plus buffs against this military police big boy, and I'm happy that this damage output will be enough to beat the remainder of the game. I spend a disproportionate amount of time trying to smash this security camera, smash some eggs instead, and max out hacking. I grab the bridge access card, spot another bangable wrench, and summon the elevator to the bridge. At the top, I get ambushed by a military police big boy, but he clearly hasn't heard of how effective I am at dismantling robots with my trusty yellow wrench. After taking a rocket to the face, I succeed in getting the Ops override access card, so tram it back to a door I couldn't enter before. Along the way, I bump agility and cyber affinity to 5, get jump scared by that spider who entered the elevator on deck 4 with me, but finally fight my way to the command center and activate the computer for Mommy Shodan. It's a quick jaunt back to deck 2, which has, in my opinion, the best music in the game. Engine core set to overload, it's time to evacuate to the Rickenbacker. But first, we have to fight two of the hardest bosses in the entire game, the Shuttles. After some faffing about, I finally destroy the last shuttle and disobey Mommy Shodan by entering this warehouse, who then docks my allowance by actually deducting cyberbots from me. I easily foil an ambush like so.
Triple kill!
Get blocked by a force field just as I'm about to head to the Rickenbacker and head back to the bridge at the behest of this dude. Coronation Chicken? Oh great. What's that?
Hello there.
After killing Mr. Brain in a chair, it's finally time to say bye-bye to the Von Braun and make my way, wrench in hand, to the Rickenbacker. Not this time, Chompy Boy. The main objective for the Rickenbacker is to destroy 16 black eggs that are hidden all over the ship. And to make matters more fun, there is no real useful map for me to use. Additionally, there are plenty of endgame level enemies here, and at this point I was wondering if I'd even be able to get close enough to melee all these eggs in the first place. Eggs 1 and 2 are easy enough, but now I've got to deal with a military police big boy and 2 chompy boys at the same time. Egg 3 is simple, so is 4, but Egg 5 requires climbing that ladder made famous in Metal Gear Solid 3.
I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no...
I spank a chompy boy on the arse that was guarding egg number 6, with egg number 7 being conveniently close by. The Rickenbacker has gun turret cameras that possess questionable hitboxes, but I have little time to ponder this as I find and destroy egg 8. Egg 9 is lucky as it's in the company of handsome wrench number 10, and Egg 10 was tucked in a corner nearby too.
I've just realised this would make a terrible walkthrough for this section.
Unsurprisingly, our progress is blocked by the lack of an access card, so I'll add that to my shopping list of things to find. I dodge a rocket but get lasered in the face as I stumble across Egg 11, disable the security so a trio of laser and rocket turrets don't eviscerate me, and spot Egg 12 in a hard to reach spot. Crap, I thought. Don't tell me I can't reach it with my Nah, it's fine. There was a raised platform nearby. Obviously, the devs thought of everything for those wanting to beat the game with only a wrench. I have an epic close quarters battle with a military police big boy, which was nearly the end of me, and then have a somewhat anticlimactic battle against another in a kamikaze robot, which went something like this. Oh look, Egg 13! After parkouring up a rocket, I eject some radioactive stuff, spot another wrench, and get spit roasted by a turret and his mate Dave the Chompy Boy. I survive because I have #mad skills and Shatter Egg 14 into 1999 graphical giblets. I have accumulated so many cyber mods for being a good little hacker that I max out all of my remaining stats because why the hell not? I have to backtrack a bit now because I clearly missed an objective, commit digital seppuku for failing Mommy Showdown, but reload, find what I was missing, including Egg 15, and do what I need to progress. Oh, for God's sake, and do what I need to progress. With my newly acquired access card, I reverse the gravitronic generators in Pod 2, as you do, and destroy the final egg.
Hooray!
I even get a rare no strings attached compliment from Mommy Showdown. I get stuck on this ladder backtracking to Pod 2. Oh, come on, just do it! But eventually enter this pretty cool upside down section of the ship. I get ambushed and killed by a military police big boy, and the last thing I see as I drift towards death is this man's crotch. I survive the ambush this time round because I'm basically Bob the Builder on crack cocaine at this point, find the captain of the Rickenbacker's body, so do the natural thing and rummage about in his pockets. I make it to the main deck of the Rickenbacker and Mummy Showdown explains that we can't detach from the Von Braun due to the biomass growth of the many ensnaring both ships together, and I will have to launch myself inside it to get us separated. Before I do, however, I take my final OS upgrade, cybernetically enhanced, which allows 2 implants to be used at the same time. I die a few times in this area, but after sorting my life out, enter the captain's cabin and find something that looks like a penis which requires a maxed research skill to use, so I throw it away. I spend some surplus cyber mods on extra size skills, kill some invisible spiders, and enter the escape pod ironically being used to launch me further into trouble. Yeah. Things can't be all bad as I spot another wrench in the wreckage with me. But that's where the good fortune ends. The main gripe most players seem to have about the Body of the Many is the maze-like level design, seemingly out of character platforming, and hordes of challenging enemies constantly assaulting you.
Oh, no, not the bee! Not the bee!
I stock up on supplies for the upcoming battles, spoil a Cyreaver's weekly swim, and pop a nerve cluster. 2 more of these needed to open up a sphincter. Ugh. I fight an invisible spider, go for a swim in some radioactive water which you know cannot smell nice, but eventually find nerve cluster number 2. Bye-bye! I get chased by a chompy boy down a meat tunnel, but luckily he stops short of the deeper water as he clearly hasn't got his bronze swimming certificate. I find the way forward with some luck and prior knowledge and decide to see where this sucky hole leads. Oh, death. Next is the room I have dubbed the teeth platforming bit as, well, looks like teeth, doesn't it? You have to use this stream of gas to shoot yourself onto the first tooth, and as you can see here, that's easier said than done. Eventually I do, however, and a short jump and climb later I've destroyed the final nerve cluster and can proceed to the boss chamber, which is also easier said than done. Making my way through another maze-like section, I find final wrench number 13, which gives me the courage to plough on and demonstrate my resolve by thwacking a cyborg woman. I say hi to Sir Daniel Fortescue, make a leap of faith which now commits me to the final push to the boss chamber, and begin buffing myself for the upcoming fight. Legions of enemies fall to the careful swinging of my wrench, and even when it seemed like I would perish, still I pressed on and found victory. Eventually I make it to the boss room and steel myself for fighting the hardest boss in the entire game. This thing, which the wiki tells me is the brain of the many. This room features endlessly respawning chompy boys and Cyreavers who I can at least deal with by destroying their squishy bits. The boss itself is rather simple. I just need to destroy those spinning stars around it and then strike the main body to win. Of course, my main concern was, am I even going to reach them along with the constant assault from enemies? But lo and behold, with a bit of awkward positioning, I certainly can. Whilst I'm doing this, I am still intermittently fighting the chompy boys, but eventually I get the last star, and with one final trusty swing, the brain of the many is destroyed. So I do the logical thing and jump down its hole. Whee! Arriving back at the Rickenbacker, I am shocked to learn that after everything, Mommy Shodan is betraying me and using the ship's FTL drive to alter reality, hence why the level geometry now is getting a little funky. I press forward into a section that anyone who has played the original System Shock should recognise, which I also think is a nice way to pay homage to the game's roots. Oh no, not these guys again. I follow the floating shapes as that seems like a good thing to do, which leads me to a downward spiralling chamber that eventually takes me to another great hole that I decide to jump in. This is it. The slow descent to the hardest boss in the entire game, Mommy Shodan, and the end of the challenge. My first observation in this fight is how much these mini Shodans look like Marv from Home Alone 2 after he's been electrocuted. The strat for this fight is also quite straightforward. Hack 3 terminals to disable Shodan's shield and get whacking. I use the ice picks I've been saving all game to instantly hack these terminals, but here's where we face a small problem. Shodan doesn't take damage from my wrench, as you can see here. In fact, she is the only enemy in the game who cannot take damage from the wrench. There is no trick, no strat or quirk that I'm missing, she is just programmed that way. I felt deflated to come all this way only to fall at the literal final hurdle and was preparing to declare this challenge as a fail. But then, after trawling through ancient forum posts about System Shock 2 and this very dilemma, I came across a potential workaround. When on the central platform with Mommy Shodan, the mini Shodans continue to attack the player by firing projectiles. These projectiles hurt Mommy Shodan, so if I were to stand opposite a mini Shodan and jump just at the right time, the mini would fire as I'm in the air, but the projectile would hit Mommy Shodan and deal damage. Enemy on enemy damage is permitted, and for me this was the only way to beat her and declare the challenge a success. So I reloaded and tried again. Yes, anticlimactic or not, Shodan effectively killed herself with no intervention on my part, which does not contravene the rules of this challenge, meaning technically yes, you can beat System Shock 2 with only a wrench. Now, all that's left is to watch the ending cutscene and... Nah. Wait, where did he get that gun from? Oh no, oh, what the fuck? Guys, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing, and if you fancy a chat, just drop a comment down below and I will always get back to you. Feel free to like the video as it really helps me out, and why not check out my Fallout and Deus Ex videos while you're here. Other than that folks, take care and I will see you in the next one.